Yes, people, we are back. 12th man's back. Arsenal talk. And I've got another brilliant guest. You all know him. You'll see him before. Simon is back in the house. How you doing, Si?
I'm good, thanks, dude. Well, actually, my throat is totally wrecked from a mad wrestling weekend, but that's all good. That's all good. I can handle. Actually, and Arsenal weekend as well, because obviously we had that smack bang in the middle of it all. So
What?
it's been good. I just think after this, I'm going to go rest a little bit and chill out. How are you, though, dude? You good?
Listen, man, I'm good. My voice hasn't gone yet. I'm hoping that come, Monday next week, my voice will be gone from screaming about us winning at Anfield. That's what I'm kind
Oh,
of
dude.
hoping, bro.
Hell
So,
yes.
that's the dream, right? But yeah, you sound a bit croaky, man. So go rest up after this and do the whole steam and stretches and all
Dude,
that.
yeah, good old sauna, yeah.
How was the mad wrestling weekend on that note?
I was awesome. So, like, because AEW are in town, second biggest wrestling promotion in the world probably these days. And also WWE was actually here yesterday as well. So it's proper crazy. So
Wow.
bunch of independent shows I get to do. Went to the big pay-per-view on Sunday to watch it and stuff. So yeah, ironically, when I go to wrestling shows these days, I don't chant or shout anymore. This is all from just like recording videos and then doing wrestling myself. So I guess that's why I have to rest. But it was really, really cool. And you get to meet all the, see all the wrestling fans and stuff. And it's a very sort of cool contingent of people. On the internet, it's terrible. But live, everyone's really nice. So yeah. And then with the 5-0 on Saturday, it's a good weekend. Good 4 days.
Do you know what it has been? Long weekend has been good for me, man. I was at a gig on Friday with a friend of mine. Went to watch Coldplay at Wembley, who are
Oh, very
fantastic.
cool, dude. Hell yes.
Oh, mate. Absolutely. If you want a gig that's interactive and really takes care of their audience, my God, Coldplay is it, man. And I know that not
Hell
all of their
right.
songs are amazing, but they've got quite a lot of bangers. And it was a great one. And then obviously Leeds on the Saturday was a brilliant win. Sunday was family day, and bank holiday Monday was a day of content, mate. So it's been a busy football time at the moment. Obviously, we're going to touch on the game last night as well, because that was a mad ending. Liverpool Newcastle, my goodness. Do you know what? Let's start with that actually, because I watched that game, and I suppose we can call ourselves a neutral. I think we all wanted Newcastle to take something. However, as a neutral fan of not really supporting either of them, that was an incredible game, wasn't it?
Oh, back and forth stuff, which is really good from a Newcastle point of view, because of course all the speculation with Isak, have they brought in the right bodies? Quite clearly they can compete, right? I think Eddie Howe is pretty special. On the Liverpool point of view, I shouldn't say this, I'm jumping the gun. Liverpool fans, if you get mad at me, I totally understand. But they are vulnerable at the back, which obviously gives us hope that hopefully we can take advantage of that at some point. However, my other worry is so good going forward. If they just win games 3-2, 4-2 for the rest of the season, then it's not going to make a difference anyway. So amazing game to watch. Really, really impressive. And I think it's kind of sort of set out exactly how I see the Premier League this year. Liverpool going to be really hard. I think City will be fine, even though that crazy result against Tottenham. But even the teams that are, well, I would call Newcastle an upper tier team these days, those games are going to be harder than ever. So whoever wins this year, I think, is really going to put a shift in. So yeah, fair play to Newcastle. They look really good.
I agree. I thought Newcastle were excellent, and I did a little bit of a fan cam after it and just said that Eddie Howe, big up, players, big up. They went down to 10, 2-0 down. They never gave up, and it looked like most people around football probably thought that Liverpool were going to take the 3 points. And Liverpool did taking the 3 points, but not in the manner that I expected. I mean, it was a 16-year-old absolute screamer of a winner, brilliant finish, and a great goal, to be fair. Salah's ball across, brilliant dummy from Dominic Szoboszlai, and then a brilliant goal from Rio. I'm not even going to try and butcher his surname, but yeah, 16 years old, he looks fantastic, right? What have you made of Liverpool, bro? What have you made? Because their first couple of games, I think a couple of last-minute winners. I mean, it's obviously a sign of champions, but at the same time, I think they look a little bit defensively frail, bruv.
Yeah, which is great for us, is what I mean, because I was really intimidated by the start of the season, and I still am. I think going forward, they're amazing. Somehow they'll probably get Isak, because that's just how the Premier League works, and I'll just be devastated. But if they don't get a Mark Gay or somebody similar, I think you can see that they are once again vulnerable at the back, and that is good, because I thought they were going to be a powerhouse. I thought we were going to have to be winning week to week to week, staying with them. I think it's still going to sort of fall into that pattern, but not to, I thought, again, yesterday, before the season, my big worry was Liverpool, Newcastle at St. James's Park. Liverpool win 4-0. Do you know what I mean? Just like, don't even worry about it. But no, they do have some gaps in their lineup, which it just gives me hope. And that's always the way that I'm going to watch those games. How would Arsenal compete against these two? So yeah, but they still have Van Dijk there. You can't forget about that. I mean, arguably one of the best defenders there is. But yeah, if they don't get anybody else in, and maybe they actually, I think they need somebody at the back more than they need an Isak because they're so good going forward anyway. I think Hincapie's got injured, but they'll still be fine. So yeah, there's a lot to take there. And again, when we talk about the Leeds game, there was certainly stuff in our own game too. I was like, okay, that needs to be sharpened up as well. But that's fine. It's a second game of the season. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be complete dominance as it was last year. And that gets me pumped because again, we talked about it. Get to the end of the season and it's all on the line the last day. I won't be happy because I'll be having an anxiety attack, but at least we'll be in that zone. So yeah, like a real interesting game from an Arsenal point of view. And Newcastle look great. And Liverpool, again, I want to make it clear, going forward, Liverpool are just unbelievable, like ridiculous.
I agree. And I actually agree with you that Guehi might be a more important signing than Isak because as much as Isak's, next level, I think that they can score goals. They've got firepower. We saw that last night. And we've seen that, in the games, they've scored 7 goals in 2 games, right? So it's not scoring goals that there's a problem. If Isak adds to that, I think some are saying you can start etching the name on the trophy already. So I think for me, Guehi and Isak together, I think it's going to make them favourites if they're not favourites already. And I think that was just a dagger, really, and a killer blow to not just Newcastle, but also rival fans that support Chelsea, even Man United. I know they're not up there, but they hate Liverpool. You've got Man City and Arsenal fans who have been watching that game going, oh, no, killer, 100-minute winner. You know what I'm saying? It's like Liverpool have taken Fergie time to the next level, isn't it? You know what I mean? So, it's incredible, man. But let's talk a little bit about the breaking news today in relation to another defender that Arsenal were looking at and potentially an outgoing. Let me just share, first of all, what has been breaking from Fabrizio Romano, who a lot of people see as reliable. It does sound like Jakub Kiwior is the guy who could be leaving Arsenal, bruv. So it says that Porto's official bid for Kiwior has just been received by Arsenal. It's a fee that is in excess of 25 million euros, and it's a package of add-ons included. It's a loan with an obligation to buy. Kiwior has already said yes to Porto, and Arsenal are now in talks over details of the bid. Before we come into what that might mean for another defender coming in, what do you make of this news? And do you think that we've got enough money there for Kiwior? Kiwior was bought for £20 million from Spezia in 2023, of January 2023, that was. And to be fair, in 23-24 and in 24-25, played quite a pivotal squad role for Arsenal, particularly in the back end of last season at PSG and Real Madrid, where I thought he was exceptional at times. Do you think maybe we should be looking at getting much more for Kiwior for this? I mean, we've got Quansah, who's left Liverpool to go to Bayer Leverkusen for 35 million. I feel like it might be a bit of a stingy bid, if I'm honest with you, Cyber. What do you make of this?
I'm in two worlds with this because one, I think you only know how good Kiwior was, how important he was if you're an Arsenal fan. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't a headline player. Nobody was shouting his praises afterwards. And very sadly, the transfer market is dictated by that. You see it all the time, right? Yep. I understand why people are shouting about a Mark Guehi so much. But if somehow, listen, Mark Guehi's better than Kiwior, but if somehow Mark Guehi had sort of sat behind the radar, under the radar a little bit, you save £10 million when you buy him. It's just how it works. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I think that's the issue. But the bigger problem, concern, and we talked about it last time, is Arsenal are a terrible selling club, right? 35 million outside Chamberlain back in 2018 is our record. So I think 100%, I think at least an extra 5. I think 30 million with add-ons, I think is more in the range that we should be going for. And I don't want to say this because I'm speculating, but given that we are in the last week of the transfer window, is it just we want to bring somebody in? So let's not do a fire sale. That's well too extreme. But let's sort of cut a few million off just to, so Porto will be like, oh, that sounds more beneficial to us. And that concerns me. I stick with concern because other clubs aren't doing that, right? You just talked about Liverpool and how they're approaching things. Maybe we need to sort of hold a bit more steadfast with this stuff because it does seem cheap, especially when the sort of the baseline for all players is going up and up and up. It feels like 25 million for the dude that now has 2 to 3 years Premier League experience. And he was a bit shaky to start with, but once he bedded in, he was always solid. So yeah, I think it's something that Arsenal need to look at. We need to start selling players at just a more fair rate. I don't know anything that's going on behind the scenes, but it feels low to me. 25 million does not feel like a lot of money.
No, I agree. And I think when you bought him for 20 million euros back in 2023, and he's actually played and been a good squad player and proved that he can be easily a first team player for not just Porto, but I actually think Kiwior starts for majority of teams in the Premier League outside of the top 6 as a starter. So I think Kiwior should be around about £35 million is what I would see as fair. Now, whether the add-ons make it up to that, near that, I don't know. And obviously the loan will probably mean that we'll get more on top if there was to be a deal that was agreed with the obligation. But I do think that it's probably quite low to go for. What do you make of the player himself, Kiwior? Because I thought at the end of last season, he's had a bit of a topsy-turvy career at Arsenal, to be honest. He came in, he wanted first-team football. He looked like he was going to be a squad player. He started at left-back in the 23-24 season, and we thought, there's a lot of stuff I liked about him there. And then all of a sudden he started getting skinned. And I thought, he's definitely a left-sided centre-back. And when he was playing at left-sided centre-back, I don't really think he's let us down too much, to be fair, particularly in the back end of last season. So do you think, if we kept him, it would be a good thing? Or do you think that he needs to go?
I'm in two worlds. Because this seems to be an Arteta thing, right? There are so many players that he's got rid of where I'm like, I assume they're just going to hang around and be squad players. Whereas Arteta's now become quite brutal, I guess. Like, it didn't work last year, and my plan was to win X, Y, and Z. You were part of that. I don't consider you a starter, so you're gone. And also, given what we saw on Saturday as well, it almost feels to me like he doesn't even see the subs bench as a sub bench anymore. It's not like you may not come on. It's like, no, you are going to come on at some point. And if he doesn't think that Kiwior is going to sit into that role, I guess he moves him on. So I think this is one we need to talk about in 6 months' time. Do you know what I mean? Because I understand why he's gone. And as we'll talk about in just 1 second, hold my hands up. No, do not know this new player coming in at all. I know nothing about him, zero. Not even watch the YouTube highlights, which of course I'll do today at some point and pretend that I'm well-versed on this dude. But, to use the classic cliche, I do trust the process. I do think they know what they're doing. I don't think they would have done it on a whim. Maybe this is some balancing of the books. I mean, I don't think Kiwior leaving is going to affect us massively. I don't think it's going to be like, oh my gosh, in 6 months' time, why do we do that? It's just it's odd timing, odd transfer. And again, I really need to see what they've seen in this new player to sort of understand it more. I think it's a bit harsh on him, though. I think he's done better than the press and the sort of outside the Arsenal clique is giving him credit for. He's a really solid player, and he'll really let you down, right? I think once he beds in and he's comfortable, he knows his job, he sticks to it, doesn't really go out of his lane. I think he's a 7 out of 10 player, but usually he'll always give you 7 out of 10. And sometimes, especially in those tricky games, that's what you need, someone to calm it down and just sit there. But I don't think we'll miss him. I don't think we'll regret it. I still think it's a bit of a funny one.
It is a funny one, and we'll talk the news on the guy that's coming in, because as you've said, you don't know much about him, and I've literally just put on my X on my Twitter, who's this guy? Is he good? Because I have no idea. And normally I do my research and all that. Of course, we look on YouTube, but I made the mistake once, Simon, of watching Mustafi when we signed him, and I thought, crikey, we've signed Cannavaro. And ever since then, I don't watch YouTube reels and get excited. So all I can do, you know what I mean? It's crazy. But the breaking news from Morano is that now I've been saying this name wrong previously. Apparently it's Hincapie is his name. Now I called him Piero Hincapié because that's how it looks like to me. But his name is exactly. That's how it reads to me. But there's no H. It's Hincapie, apparently. He's apparently said yes to Arsenal. Personal terms have been agreed. There's a long-term deal that's ready. We understand that Hincapie favours Arsenal and was also seen as an ideal signing by Arteta. Arsenal preparing an opening bid, and it's likely to be a loan and an obligation to buy with Kiwior to Porto soon. So there is a €60 million release clause on this guy, but apparently that's not being discussed. It's going to be much lower than that. As they've said, their loan with an obligation to buy will be much lower than that. Sounds to me like this guy's coming in. What's even more funnier is that he's actually rejected Tottenham, or that Tottenham were looking at him. And again, we've got him there before them. So that's obviously something that's funny as well. Now, what I do is I've spoken to people that know him. I had no idea who he is, mate. If I'm honest with you, I don't watch enough of Bundesliga to be aware of it. Yeah. But apparently he's been one of Xabi Alonso's most reliable centre-halves for the Bayer Leverkusen side. He's a very, very aggressive, quite filthy defender that can play left back and left-sided centre-back. Now, I've been likened to Christian Romero at Tottenham. Now, I know he has some rash kind of tackling, but he also has some very good tackling when he wants to be on it. I don't know how much you've heard about this guy. You've said you don't know him. Apparently, it's an upgrade on Kiwior from what people are saying to me, which is what my question was on Twitter. Anyone who's watched it has watched this Hincapie. Is he actually an upgrade on Jakub Kiwior? Because that's essentially what I care about. If we're letting Kiwior go, we're bringing in someone who's a Wally, then actually we're better off keeping Kiwior, right? But if you're getting this guy and he's got either the potential to be or already is better, which is what people are saying, then he's a good player. Now, the interesting thing for me as well, Si, is that he can play left back as well. And I still don't know that we've actually got a natural left back. Lewis-Skelly's been phenomenal, but he's more of a box-to-box midfielder by trade.
Yep.
Calafiori, we're being told, is more of a centre-half, although he looks good going forward at left-back. We're bringing in somebody else now in Hincapie who plays left-sided centre-back but can play left-back. I wonder, and I said this to Jordan yesterday, if we actually just need to go and buy left-back instead of all these centre-halves. But what's your opinion on this one, bro?
Yeah, so I think there's two things to this. I think the reason Arteta wants to cover that is because when Gabriel or Saliba goes out, we did look weak. Was it last season or 2 seasons ago? I think they each tried Gabriel last season and Saliba the 2 seasons before that. So I think that's good that he's keeping that in mind and going, well, I can't buy players to replace them because they are not going to start over those guys. But honestly, I think it comes to this new system he's got where most substitutes are going to come on, depending on the game, of course. And so if he thinks this dude is going to be able to do that more than a Kiwior, then I do actually get it. I didn't realize it was a loan with obligation to buy. That to me shouts PSR. Let's make 25 million now. Don't have to worry about this dude for 12 months. And then, you obviously put it on the books the next year instead. And also, Bayer Leverkusen are a pretty good team. And they've been a pretty solid team for a while now. I don't think anybody would put I know we're not going to pay 60 mil, but a 60 million release clause, you can't, we would never put 60 million on Kiwior, right? People are like, you're mad. There's no way I was going to play it. And I understand the transfer window is totally out of whack right now, but that still gives me some more hope. Because, if Arsenal heard that, even if they are paying less, they've just walked away. We're not even going to get anywhere near that, so let's not even bother with it. They've clearly come to some kind of a deal. So maybe it does make more sense. Again, maybe if it's getting to the point where you don't want a Saliba or Gabriel to get injured, they're playing every single game. We know that they can suffer a knock and go out, and this dude can come in, he can fit there, he can play on the left. Maybe that's a better way to do it because, like you said, Lewis-Skelly looks decent there. Like he does, he knows what he's doing. Calafiori, I really, really like. On Saturday, I thought, I was very, very impressed. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe he wants these kind of rotating positions, which is also done kind of with a Martinelli, a Madueke, and now Eze that's brought in. I don't think they're ever going to play the same position throughout the season. They will have positions that will be predominantly theirs. But I think depending on the game, depending on injuries, depending on knocks, you'll see Eze, we'll shift him around. Not false 9. Someone said that the other day. I do not want to see Eze in a false 9 position. Last thing in the world. But Gyökeres too. We don't want to have to play Gyökeres every single game because we did that with Saka. Obviously, what happened at the weekend sucks. Let's not run people into the ground, especially with the kind of schedule that we do have. So if this dude is going to be more versatile than Kiwior and he's better and he's happy to be in this kind of odd, I don't want to call it a rotating system because that's not the right word. Maybe it does make sense. Again, I really need to see him because if he comes in and he hits the ground running and he's better and we have to pay for him until 2026, then actually maybe it's pretty good. Maybe it works.
Look, I hope it does work. I think it needs to work. And if I'm honest with you, I've been a big fan of what Kiwior has brought to the team in terms of the squad. If this guy's going to come in and be versatile as well, play left back, play left-sided centre back, then I'm all for that. And I think as well, if he's happy to come to Arsenal and fight for his place, I really like that. Because let's not forget, Si, right? Mosquera was playing every game at Valencia. He's come to Arsenal to fight for his place ahead of Saliba. You've got Gabriel, you've got Calafiori that's come from Bologna playing every week to come and fight for his place ahead of Gabriel or ahead of our left back. And now you're bringing in Hincapie, who's playing every week at Bayer Leverkusen. I kind of like this. And some people might look at it differently and think, what the hell are they doing? Like, they're playing every week. They're going to get better. But I like the fact that they've got the confidence to believe, well, I'm going to be a part of that. And the other thing that I've noticed in the first couple of games, and certainly in pre-season with Arteta, is I've seen a change in Arteta with the squad rotation and who he's playing and who he's starting. And I'm looking at the players coming on from the bench now thinking, this is what I've needed for so long. Like, I've needed to see a squad. I've needed to see him trust the squad. And I actually truly believe that, I think Mikel Arteta might have even said this in one of his press conferences, I need 2 11s. And I absolutely love that, Si, because that is what we need, right? To go on all 4 fronts. And I think that's what he's creating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what City did 2 years ago, right? When they blitzed it. The 2 or 3, whatever the treble season was. I think it was 2 seasons ago. It didn't even matter. Like, everyone that came on, you're like, this is ridiculous. How is that guy just sat on the bench? So if that's the level that we're bringing up to, I think that's why Liverpool spent so much money in the window and why they're still going after Isak and Gay too, for that exact reason. Just continue to push people in there. And so we need to do the same. And I felt the same as you on Saturday. When the squad came up, I was like, no holes whatsoever. And there were a couple of times last year I was like, that subs bench looks a bit shaky to me. So now we're doing it and we're adding people as well. And who knows what could bring this week. I mean, I didn't have this on my cards. So I'm certainly not going to draw a line under anything. But I just think, I always say this when I come on these shows, but I'm going to continue to say it. I don't want to be in another position when we're 2-0 up in a game and it ends 2-2. It's happened so many times. It's always against teams like Southampton, Aston Villa. and it drives me, and Crystal Palace, and it drives me nuts. So that means in those kind of games, you need to be able to change your system. You need to be able to adapt, which I do think Arteta likes to do. So you need players like this. Like, who isn't on it right now? Who's just having a bad day, or who isn't kind of fitting into the system we're trying to do? And if he can do that better than a Kiwior, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's actually quite a daring signing. It's like saying, okay, maybe you're not going to have the game time you had there, but you're going to be a part of my squad that I've got, and we're going to win things. And we're going to win things because you're literally there to come on as and when we need you. And some games you'll start as well, because, again, we have so many games. So I like the way he's approaching it, even if we're not 100% familiar with the player. Obviously they are, because they do their due diligence. I think it's super exciting, man, if it goes that way. And the reason I'm more confident is because that's what it looked like on Saturday to me. When we made that triple substitution, I was like, look who is coming on. I understand that Saka and Odegaard probably lent into that as well. But even if they had just been taken off to rest them, the three dudes coming on, I was pumped, man. So that's three amazing players who are just going to run wild for the last half an hour, whatever it was.
Yeah, and it really was. And I think for me, the last couple of games where I've seen Madueke come on, Havertz in the first game, still got Martin Elliott wasn't even used. Eze's got to come into the mix, which I'll touch on in a minute. Trossard come on, it was like, oh, Trossard, of course, forgot about him. Lewis-Skelly's been bringing on. Ben White's still in the mix with Timber. Obviously, at the back, you've got Calafiori, Mosquera has been coming on. Norgard is still there and injured at the moment. He would have been on the bench. Marino wasn't even brought in. You can start to get to it and think, right, there really is no excuses for Arteta now. He really has got a mix of players who actually do look like a squad has been built for him over the last, 5-6 years, whatever it now is. And it looks though it's ready. It really does. But let's touch on Leeds. What did you make of the game, and who stood out for you, mate?
So my favorite thing is I went and I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch Gyökeres. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to watch Gyökeres, because a lot of people have said, I don't know how to, a lot of people said to me, like, he's a good goal scorer. Maybe he's not a very good football player, which I always find a bit weird. Like, what do I care? And I kind of see what they mean. He's a bit, he'll do 10 things and 5 of them will be absolutely mad, like totally mad. But he's awesome, dude. He elbows and he kicks and he scratches. He's one of those. And I have missed that kind of player for Arsenal. We've got silky players. We've got sort of more skillful. No, screw that. I want someone that's going to straight up punch somebody else in the face as and when. He's so scrappy, man. And when he scored that goal, when he came in off the left, you know what I mean? He would not go down. No one was going to bring him down. He was so sort of aggressive in the challenge. And that really got me excited. This is a new way we can play. And I was so happy he got his 2 goals. And apart from the first 15 minutes, it felt like, to me, I mean, Leeds were playing the low block, right? And they were like, we're just going to kind of defend. And it's actually why I enjoyed where we were at half time, because so many teams like Leeds come to the Emirates and they do that. Totally understand why. Why wouldn't you? I've not got a problem with it. I don't get all Jurgen Klopp about it. Oh, it's a crap way to play football. There is no crap way. You play the way to win the game. That's all that matters. But Arsenal have struggled to break down low blocks so many times. And this time they didn't. They figured it out, and they figured it out with Odegaard and Saka, although by the time Saka went off, the game was pretty much done. And that was my biggest takeaway, is that we had a team, we were struggling to break them down, maybe lacking creativity in the first 20 minutes, but we found a way. We got that first goal. Timber I love that. I don't care, man. You call a set piece FC, not bothered. There's so many set pieces in the game. I'll take a set piece, especially because we scored a couple from open play as well. So, yeah, that was my favorite thing. I was like, we have taken a team who has come up, clearly gone to the Emirates to get a point after they beat Everton on Monday. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch. They did it for 20 minutes. They ran out of air, ran out of oxygen. Arsenal wore them down, and then was just sort of picking pieces, even when arguably 2 of their best players went off. Now, that's the only, obviously, asterisk. I think Odegaard was a shoulder, so maybe he can strap him up and play. Saka sounds like about a month, which sucks. But at least we have the players this year. It's not like I have to be too freaked out about it. So all in all, yeah, I was really, really impressed. It got me probably overly excited, because I think we do that as fans. I think we get way into it. But to smash a side that come up 5-0, whereas before in seasons we've seen not struggle against championship side, but just, they do really well in that low block, and you just can't find a way through them. Felt like we had options, and we had a different gear we were able to reach because we were able to move players around. So yeah, man, and if that's the level we can expect at the Emirates, then I think we'll be incredibly hard to beat. But I was real pumped by the end of it. It felt, everyone says, the first home game of the season, but it felt like there's magic in the air, man. This is it. This is the year we're going to do it. So yeah, really cool.
Look, it was always good when you get back because, I mean, from taking football away from it, the 90 minutes away from it, as a season ticket holder from myself, it's really great for me and my dad because we're back and everyone's there and it's social and it's superb,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
What even made it better for me, which I wanted to touch on quickly before I go into certain individuals, was the Eze reception.
Oh, it's amazing. It was like wrestling. It was like a WWE intro.
Yeah.
It really, really was. Yeah.
Like the entrance music, you're waiting for it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I just look at. I mean, as an Arsenal fan, it would be an absolute dream if I was a footballer to play for Arsenal. I could feel that with him. I could really feel it. That like the sentimental emotion. It felt so good, man.
Yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It was. I always like to say this because you always get fans of other clubs go ridiculous nonsense. Of course, you don't care. It's like if I have a kid and go, look how cute my kid is. You don't care about my kid. It's my kid. What do you care? You got no attached to this. But when you have your club and you see, especially with all the, what's the word I look for? The roller coaster journey of the week. He's going to join Tottenham. Then at the last minute, he comes to Arsenal, the club that released him when he was a kid. And then he stays in London and works his way back there. And he gets this amazing reception. He's also he's a ready-made player. We know he could do it in the Premier League, help Crystal Palace win the FA Cup. It just ticks so many boxes. And that video they played beforehand with obviously Ian Wright, who has that connection as well from Palace back to Arsenal. It just was, it really, really was. And because they had their pyrotechnics for the first day of the season, you had a big firework display afterwards as well. So I was like, this is wrestling done right. Now, of course, I would argue that it's actually added a bit more pressure onto that guy's shoulders. He needs to come in and smash it. But I think he'll have a bit of a bee in his bonnet because he doesn't want to be, imagine, I'm not, this is the horrible thing for me to say. He doesn't want to be a Nicolas Pepe, right? A guy that comes in with so much promise and delivers nothing, absolutely nothing. He knows the league. He loves Arsenal. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's not just like, oh, cool, I get to play for one of the biggest clubs in England. It's like, no, this is my club. And this is a club that almost made me gave up my football career because I didn't know what to do. That story is so good. You could write, that's like Roy the Rovers, right? It's proper old school Roy the Rovers nonsense. And that's why I just think if you're an Arsenal fan, the emotion before that game, that's why I was worried. I said to the people I was with, what if we lose? We're going to ruin Eze's arrival. We can't do that. But no, all in all, super special. And I think if we can, whatever that feeling was, and I understand I sound like an idiot, but it was there. Wherever that feeling in the air was, if he's able to contain that and put it into the games, dude, he's going to become, I'm not in terms of achievements, but in terms of that connection and love from the fans, he will be an Ian Wright, he'll be an Henry, he'll be one of those players that you just want, you can't even explain it. It's just an incredible connection. I really hope he does, man, because I love him. I think he's great in his face, and he was just so emotional. You couldn't help but buy in with him. So yeah, it was awesome.
Absolutely, it was, man. It really was. And somebody else who's awesome is Emeka, man, because this is a hilarious comment. He says, "Morning, Dan. I'm loving the show. I'm at the office, but I can't take my eyes off it. I don't want to get sacked." Just kidding. I've liked and subscribed. Love this show. Keep up the light, lads. Yeah, love to you, bro. Thanks so much, man. And big up to everyone in the chat, man. Let's do a couple of these super chats, and then we'll come back on the Eze stuff. Ibby says, "We've made 5 subs in both games. We're learning." That was something that I looked at, actually, and thought, wow, actually, this is nice. No more 86th minute, and we're waiting for the first sub. Do you know what I mean? And again, I think that comes down to, Arteta trusting his bench, man. I really do think that. English Idiot says, "Does this window get a thumbs up, Simon? Big up."
Absolutely. It does get up. Yeah, I give it an up. It's been a good window. One of the best windows for a while. Because it's not just one big player. It's one big player and then sort of, or 2 big players, or 3. I call Zubimendi a big player. So yeah, it's brilliant. It's been a great window. It really has.
No, it has, man. Let's hope there's some more to come as well. And Maka says, "Is Van Dijk going to handle Gyökeres big time?" I think that battle is going to be incredible, to be honest,
really
at the weekend.
Good. That's going to be a war. They're going to kick the absolute life out of each other. I cannot wait. That is going to be awesome.
I agree. Look, let's move towards that game and let's touch on Eze, because Eze was kind of announced and everybody believes that he's going to be a top talent. And I do. I think he's an excellent player.
Yeah.
But we've got some problems. There was the kind of only negative I suppose I can take away from the game at the weekend was the injuries to both Ødegaard and Saka. Now, Ødegaard, it doesn't sound severe. His shoulder injury is, not as bad as what was first seen. But Saka has been confirmed that he's out for 3 to 4 weeks. Who comes in now for you at Anfield, Simon?
That's such a good question, man. I mean, it depends who else slots in where. Because when you could have it where Martinelli and Madueke play, I don't know how that works. That feels a little bit like, are we putting, was it round pegs into square holes? But I don't know. Again, I don't know enough about Madueke really to know is he that versatile? I'm sure he is. But then when you got Eze there as well, the good thing is we have options, right? There's so many options that we can do. My issue was I wasn't prepared for Saka getting injured this early in the season.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be more of a bedding in period. So Saka was going to go off probably 60, 65 minutes. We're going to bring one of the new guys on. Who works where? What can we do? So I'm not overly worried because I think if it's a shoulder thing for Odegaard, you can strap him up, right? I don't want to put him under unnecessary stress, but we've seen that time and time again, and he's a smart enough player. But actually, I saw him doing it on Saturday. After the injury, he stayed on for a while, and you could see that he was just, well, ironically, shouldering his shoulder because he's smart, right? He understands how to play, whereas Saka just went down and couldn't get back up again. But again, I presume that Eze is going to feature. I don't see why he can't start. He's playing for Crystal Palace last week. Like, he's good to go. I mean, maybe he has to understand what Arteta wants him to do, but I think he's smart enough to get the basics. Madueke, I thought, looked good on Saturday. Very, very solid. Do you know what I mean? Just ran that channel excellently. No nonsense, really. And I was like, awesome. I got no problem with that. I'm sure Martinelli now does have a bee in his bonnet too, because he didn't play at all. So, excuse me, you brought all these players and I wasn't allowed to come on. And what really, I think why I have more confidence and why I'm happy for Arteta to play with those three at the front is I watched Zubimendi and Rice doing their, whatever we're calling it, pivoting or
love that.
Places. It was so good. And they do it effortlessly. And it kind of feels to me like Rice feels way freer than he ever has done. He was everywhere. He's playing left back at one point. I was like, why are you there? So I think when you have that much of a structure at the back and that much of a foundation, maybe you can experiment with all of those three on either area, because you can always cut on onto your other foot. I know we've done that a lot in the past, but I don't mind it as long as it's working in the way that you intend, especially because I think the issue when we were kind of, we'll put a left guy on the right and he can cut in and stuff, we didn't have a Gyökeres. There was no point man to just boot the ball to. And you saw that a lot on Saturday, a lot of just putting it into the channels, Gyökeres, go and get that ball. That's how he gets his first goal. So I think that does mean, as long as they're comfortable with it, again, a Martinelli, a Madueke, an Eze, and probably someone else I'm forgetting now. But, there's other dudes that we can bring in there. And that's why it's so amazing, right? I mean, even Max Dowman, you could not at the start of the game.
Unbelievable.
But what I saw on Saturday, I was like, listen, he's 25. He just happens to be only 15 years on this planet. Like, there's a big difference. So, even if you got towards the end of that game, it's not, I mean, Liverpool did it last night, technically. Same deal. So, I don't mind it at all. I've definitely forgotten somebody, but I'll throw it to you and you'll be able to tell me who I forgot.
Well, I think there's certain options. And with Saka and Odegaard pretty much guaranteed, I imagine, not to start unless Odegaard makes a speedy recovery. I know he's been called up for his international break. So he's obviously not long-term out, but Saka will be. I think you've got a couple of options. You can either go with Martinelli on the left and Madueke on the right and Eze in the middle. Or if you don't believe that's the case, then you can go with Ethan Nwaneri at number 10.
How did I forget that?
So you could go with Ethan, Eze left, and then Madueke on the right. There's a couple of options. Trossard hasn't been mentioned. You can still bring him into the mix. I personally think we need to go for pace and flair. So I wouldn't go for Trossard wide, personally.
I agree, yeah.
I think you've got a decision to make over Eze and Martinelli. Because for me, the right-back situation at Liverpool at the moment doesn't look too great. I know Bradley come on, but he's not 100% fit. And I think, last night Szoboszlai was playing there. They've got no Frimpong, who's injured. So I think that right-back could be got at, whether you're playing Bradley, who's not 100% fit, or they're playing Szoboszlai. So I think that left wing option for Arsenal is key. And the reason I go with Eze is just because I think, as much as I like Martinelli, and I think he is all about pace, I think Eze is looking like he could be a perfect scenario for him to have a debut there and a little bit of space to either run in behind or to cut inside, which he's so good at. So I think Eze would be the right choice for left. Madueke looked really good, as you said, when he came on for Saka on the right. Wasn't too sure about him on the left. He wasn't doing much for me. But when he switched over at the right, he come alive. And I thought, wow, okay, this is what we've kind of needed, a backup to Saka. And I just thought we were so much better when Nwaneri come on the pitch, mate. I just thought we moved quicker. You know what I mean? And Odegaard come off. And I thought, Ethan, this is what I need to see. You in the centre, popping passes, moving the ball quickly. I just felt we looked a little bit better. So I've got to be honest.
Well, I'll give Odegaard his flowers because I do think he got injured quite early on. I think he played for a good 10 minutes when he was injured. But I'd also say he's still not back to where he was following that injury last season. Was it? I think it was last season, right? He's not, and I don't know whether that's an ongoing thing. I don't know. But what I do think is Ranieri comes on 18, maybe he's 19 now, I don't know. But again, that kind of age range, new contract, has a point to prove. Probably knows about Arteta's system of, listen, you're not going to start every game, but you're all going to get your opportunities. Like, well, this is my opportunity. I think it kind of ties into, I think it's very similar to where Eze is as well. Go out there and prove it, man. This is all for you. And the cool thing about young players is they play with no fear, right? They haven't made sort of countless mistakes. And I don't care. This is brand new territory for me. So I never want any player to get injured. Odegaard, obviously the captain, love that man to death. But you have to look at the situation, how it's presented in. If he really isn't good to go, then you tell Ranieri, man, you're the captain. Again, you're not literally, but you go in there and just boss it, man. Boss it. And again, if you have Eze and Madueke running down around him, I think that's awesome. I think that really, really works. I would play Eze as well because I think sometimes clubs are too resistant to play their new players, and I think that's a mistake. I get it if they haven't bedded into the system, but there is into the I don't know how the preseason, whatever. Eze has literally played Premier League games, so it's like there is no excuse. And I just think it's fortuitous. It's against Liverpool. It's a massive game because if you can get 3 points, you've taken the first scalp of the year, and Liverpool are going to have to get back at you somehow, be it in a different game or whatever. So why would you take that away when you can fulfill the momentum out there? Especially because not in a million years do I want this. If he doesn't hit the ground running on his first game, I think by 2 or 3 he'll be flying. You have players to bring on. So it's not a problem. It's not like we're totally boned if he doesn't play. So I would let him run lease. I'd let Ranieri run lease. And yeah, I'd put Madueke on as well. Because I think that also kind of proves this is why we brought him in. All this bizarre negativity that he got. But look, Saka is gone and look what he can do. I don't think he has the flair of Saka, but I think he's a damn solid player that totally understands what his role is. And I'm happy to have him after what, even when he was on the left, I know what you mean. He was quiet, but he was always working. That's what I liked. Sometimes Martinelli goes missing for me in games. Madueke was just working and working and working and working. So I like that. That will always get a response out of me because I get it. All right, it's not really going for you in other areas, but you're not giving up. And you're still going, and I'm still aware of what you're trying to do. So that's what I would go with, and I think it's solid, especially because by that point, if Martinelli does come on, he knows. So he comes on 62, bro. You got to show something, man. Otherwise, 100%. You go down that pecking order. So
100%. And look, it's a nice decision to have to make for a manager because you obviously want strength in depth. But I wanted to touch quickly before we move on, Max Dowman, because I had I was asked on a podcast, God knows when I clapped with someone saying, what's your wild take of the season? And I think they expected me to say, Arsenal were going to win the treble or something like that, But what I said was, I said that I think Max Dowman's going to play a lot more than people suspect. And everyone said, nah, he's 15, man. He's 15. Even I didn't expect him to come on in the second game of the season and tear it up, right? So I think he is going to play a lot more than people think. I don't think he's going to go and get 90 minutes here and there. I think he's going to come on and be part of the mix in the Premier League games, in some of them. I think in a handful of Champions League games, you might even see him as well. But I think certainly for the cup games, domestic cups, Carabao, FA Cup, I think Dowman's even going to start or play a big chunk of that game. So what do you make of his minutes this season? And do you have any concerns about him at all?
So I was surprised he was on the bench, but super happy. It was this thing, wait a minute, what? He's on the bench? And given where we were when he came on in the 65th minute or whatever, I was like, why not? Why not? Because I watched him when he came on as well, because I've never seen him live properly. So good. I mean, I get it straight away. As I understand. Because it's always different when you see a player live. Like, what are they doing when they don't have the ball? And guy just totally understands. But he was out there, and I'm not saying we didn't do this deliberately, but just by happenstance, he wasn't involved that much because by that time we were controlling the game. There was no rush, so we were taking our time. And then every now and then they would get the ball to him. He'd take players on. He won the penalty. And it's like, this is just brilliant experience because not only does it show that he's able to compete, his only negative, which is not a negative, is that it was really easy to push him off the ball because he's 15. But he uses that and he got a penalty. So he's just his footballing brain. My only big worry is I don't want another Jack Wilshere, which I shouldn't say, but I loved him. I was just like, he was just my favorite person ever. And I feel crushed what happened to him. And the only reason I bring that up is you start earlier and potential injuries can come earlier. So I want to protect him as much as possible because I do think he's a generational talent. But I think you're right. If you had asked me last week, I didn't think he'd feature here. I thought he would be more of a Carabao Cup guy. I think you're right. I think he's going to feature loads, but I also think they'll be so smart about when to pull the trigger on it. And my new hot take is that it sounds silly because obviously you want to win more than the Carabao Cup. I'm not saying that's what we're aiming for, but just as sort of like a tick box and an arrival into the Emirates. I think Eze and Max Dowman are somehow going to help us win the Carabao Cup, which is such a strange thing to say, but I'm keeping it realistic, basically. And they're just going to be like, this is how we're going to make our first mark before we go on to other stuff. But yeah, I think they know what they've got. So I think it's twofold. I think you want him to get the experience that when he does hit 18, he's just an absolute beast. But also you don't want him to, everyone says he's like, mature behind his years. And if you spoke to him, you think you're talking to an adult. But he's also a football player. And we saw what happened with Wanyeri, all these talks about, is he going to sign a new deal or not? You want to let Max know, we've got you, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't think about going anywhere else. Like, we're going to give you minutes. We're going to give you experience because sadly, and not just him, I'm talking about football in general. If players don't get the minutes, even when they are 16, 17, 18, at Chelsea, at City, United, Borussia Dortmund, always, they will start knocking on the door. And we want Dowman to get to that age where he could be potentially worth a lot of money, but be like, no, my experience for Arsenal is way better. So I think they're managing it from both a player point of view, but also a sales point of view. A morale point of view, I think is better. Do not let him think it's going to be better elsewhere. So really smart. And again, he won us the penalty, which I thought they were going to let him take it at one point, which I thought was a bad idea. I was like, there's no need. Let Gyökeres get 2. I think that's better 100%. For him going forward. But also, penalties are a crapshoot anyway. I don't need to see Max Dowman miss a penalty. There's just no need. Just don't do it. So I thought
totally agree.
Well, yeah.
Now, Victor has to be our penalty taker from now on. I don't want Odegaard or anyone taking them, if I'm honest. It has to be Victor Gyökeres for me, and I liked that. I actually agree with D-Guy here, who says that he's the modern-day Jack Grealish buying free kicks. And can he bag, though? Look, I think he can bag. I think if you watch him in the youth system, he definitely can score a goal, right? But I think he's right here in terms of he's got 3 penalties for us now in the last 5 games where he's been fouled in the box. So he's clearly a tricky player, Look, I think he's a talent. I had a debate yesterday with Jordan, who was on here talking about how I'm uncomfortable, he said, playing a child in a men's game. And I said, look, I'm not debating his ability. I think he's going to be a star. I think he's incredible. But are we overdoing this? Are we going to burn him out? Should he be playing in the under 18s or under 20s, whatever it be? I'm the opposite. I actually think if you're good enough, you're old enough. I never said this with Wayne Rooney and Michael Owen. I think if you're good enough, you're old enough. And, this is not a player who looks completely out of his depth. It's not someone that I'm worried is going to get kicked to hell and injured for the rest of his career. I'm actually not worried about that. There's something about him that just oozes confidence. He's fearless. He's intent to drive forward. And the biggest thing I will say, I've never played football at anywhere near that level. But when I used to have somebody who was vulnerable in the team, whether it was because they were good enough or whether it's because they were confident, low of confidence, I would always go, do you know what? I'll go back and pass it to my centre half who's big and nasty. I'll avoid him because you don't need that right now with 2 men on him. They don't do that with Max Dowman. They give him the ball the whole time. They're flinging the ball over to him. And I'm thinking, okay, they're using him like all the time here. What is happening? Are they going to protect this guy? This guy's got 3 players on him and they're passing the ball to him. What is going on? That I've never seen that before. So I've got to be honest. And, someone said to me the other day, do you think Ethan Nwaneri is better at 17 than Saka was? And I said, yes, absolutely he is. He scored 10 goals for Arsenal. Saka wasn't even getting into the team. He said, right, that's scary because Max Dowman's better than all of them at 14. Do you know what I mean? So
but that's how it works, isn't it? That's always how it works. So you need Saka to get Nwaneri and you need Nwaneri to get Dowman because it's always the way. Like you need 100%. The trendsetter and then someone else goes, I can be that guy. Oh, I've done it. And the next, I could do that. It always goes a bit lower. You're right, though, man. And you have to play him. He will leave in 2 years if he's not getting minutes. It's ridiculous, but that's football. That's how football works. You're old enough, you're good enough, and you're old enough, you go somewhere else. It's just fact. I mean, I hope that he has. I always feel like I think Saka probably will leave one day, devastatingly. Always my worry because I think he'll want to play for a big Spanish team, basically. But I think at the moment he's locked in. He's not going anywhere for years, right? He wants to win something at Arsenal. And I'd love to think that Max Dowman is like that. But he is 15. Think how many people he's got in his ear, right? Now, apparently he's got a great team around him, but it only ever takes one. Oh, maybe. Right? And then all of a sudden, and again, that's no shade on him. I'm saying that's football. I've seen it too many times. So you have to balance it. And again, from what I saw on Saturday, there is no reason he can't be playing more football with men, for lack of a better term, because he handled himself brilliantly and it made me question my own life choices. I was like, how on earth is he doing that at 15 years of old?
Listen, it was an incredible performance. It's been an incredible pre-season. I saw this kid at 13 and thought, wow. Then I saw him at 14, did a quick show on him and said, a quick video on him and uploaded it saying, has anyone seen this kid? Because he looks unbelievable for club and country. He's never played at his own age level. He's always played above it. So when he was 7, he was playing at like under 10s, and then it went up to like 13, and he was playing at under 18s. And he's just skipped every level. That to me tells me he's absolutely advanced ahead of his years. And I'm not saying he's the best I've ever seen, and he's that no one's near him and all that kind of stuff. Because of course there are. There's loads of kids coming through, right? But at the same time, I've asked the question: how many players were as good as him or better at 15? It's a genuine question. There is going to be some. Lamine Yamal probably was, and Wayne Rooney might have been, and maybe Messi and Ronaldo were, but the accessibility was not available like it is now to actually look at those videos back then. Michael Owen, I remember him scoring the best goal I've ever seen when he was 16 years old. It's still, I think it's actually come off of line now because no one's ever seen it. It is by far better than the one he scored against Argentina. By far, he's like 16 years old, but it was never ever kind of put out there because it was just not accessible back then. He was 16, like 96 or 97, or whatever it was.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that when you look at it, he is an absolute talent. And look, I look at the squad at the moment. I look at the strength in depth. I just wanted to show you what I mean by that, because there's definitely no excuses this season for Arsenal to do something, right? I think when people look at what we're about, you look at the squad, first of all, you look at the manager and you think, right, they've 100% got what it takes. If you look at that 11 there when everyone's fit, obviously David Raya in goal, I think he's been brilliant, by the way, in the first couple of games as well. Like he really does not get enough mention for me. You've got Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and at the moment Calafiori, who's being favoured there at left back. Then you've got Zubimendi, Rice, and Odegaard, who at the moment aren't even playing in that kind of formation. They're actually Rice dropping a bit deeper, which I really like. I think they're both. You mentioned it, two pistons of an engine going backwards and forwards together. It looks really, really good with Odegaard, obviously in that attacking role. And at the moment, you're going to have, with everyone's fit, we believe, Saka, Eza, who I think will play left wing, and then the Gyökeres. Now, that 11 is absolutely good enough to win a trophy. Whether it's the Premier League or the Champions League is, of course, what we hope. But it's definitely good enough to win one of the domestic trophies. And then when you actually look at the backup to that and you think, wow, okay, there's more. There's another 11 he's kind of put together, we believe, is probably going to be in the ilk of some of the other players that we're going to be bringing in. You look at that then and you think, okay, now we've actually got another 11 that could quite easily be a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup side. You've got Kepa, you've got Ben White, Mosquera, the new guy, hopefully Hincapie, who we're going to sign, it seems, Lewis-Skelly, Wanheri, Norgard, Marino, and then obviously Madueke, Martinelli, and Havertz. Now, I'm not going to lie, that would actually do quite well in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? That would get yourself, going for top 8, pushing for Europe if they all stuck together. So yes, there's some players that I'm not too sure in that. Absolutely, I'm not too sure. I think Marino has to prove himself in that position because I actually preferred him when he was playing up top for us, believe it or not.
How bizarre is that, right? Yeah, I know, crazy.
It is crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. My point is, we're kind of stacked now, Simon. I don't think there's any real excuses about, he hasn't got this yet, or we've got to give him time for this. So I think that puts a little bit more pressure on Mikel Arteta, does it not?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you're proving it right here with that squad. Like, there's internationals in that squad, and they're just sat on our bench. I mean, is Kepa still the most expensive goalkeeper in the world? I think so, right? Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. So, unfortunately, optics play a big part. So, obviously, Kepa came to the Premier League and didn't maybe perform how people expected. Still a really good goalkeeper. He proved that last season when he was out on loan. But when you have those kind of players in your squad, people are going to use those kind of stats against you. And they should do, because we would use it against other people as well. So I think it goes back to my big thing that I'm going to continue to say all season. We need the Champions League. I'm always 50-50 on, because knockout football can be nuts. You just never know what's going to happen. I still think we need to get to quarters, probably semis, just so it's the same as last year. I think it's always important the next season. When you're going to be in it for 10 years, sometimes you're going to go out the knockouts, the league stage, and it just happens, and it sucks, and it's horrible. But given this is our sort of first foray back into that, I think you have to match what you did last year. I just think you do, to show fans, listen, there is progress here. And the league cannot fall away, as we've done for the last 3 seasons. Well, I wouldn't even call fall away last season, just weren't in it really. So you have to get down to, it has to be the last game. Liverpool can't even win it by the penultimate game. It has to be that ultimate game to prove, because I'm always going to be cognizant of the fact they've spent over £300 million as well, right? They are, and fair play to them. They got the money. They got whatever their own Fenway group to sort of, take money out of the Americans. I'm not a problem with that. That's how, I can't argue with it, that you're allowed to do it. And if you're allowed to do it, I can't go, that's not fair. Well, it's happening. So deal with it and go figure out how you can do it yourself. But even if it is, March, and there's like a 6-point gap, and it's not good enough. Unless something changes, of course, but usually it doesn't at that stage. It has to be last day of the season, and it has to be, 2 cameras. I don't know if we're at home last game of the season, but one at Anfield, one at the Emirates, and you're going back and forth, going, what's going to go down? It has to be that. And that way, as gutting as it will be if Liverpool take it, everybody's feeling will be, we go again. And this squad getting that close, it will, and then they'll be disappointed. But obviously, winning, nothing builds confidence like winning a trophy. But getting that close, I think, also proves to you, man, one result. Do you know what I mean? One VR decision, one, whatever it may be, we could have changed all of this. And if we're not there with that kind of squad, even I would find it hard. If we just finished third, I'd be like, what can I say? You win the argument, because it doesn't make sense. We're better on paper than we ever have been for the last few years. And that's why I don't have to, I want to win a trophy. Of course I do. That's what game's about. I just have to be in the conversation until the end. And that goes for FA Cup. If we go out in the quarters, it needs to be, wow, who saw that coming? Do you know what I mean? There has to be an asterisk over everything. It can't just be you got smashed by someone. It can't be, because that doesn't make any sense. So the United game was the shaky game of the season. Now it's got to be smooth sailing from here on out.
Look, it has to be, and it's going to come thick and fast with the games that we've got. I mean, we've got 2 games out the way, one of which I was actually worried about, because Old Trafford I never feel comfortable with. And I think the last time we spoke, we were a bit like, questionable. We got the 3 points, got out of there with all 3, and we move. Wasn't the best performance, but certainly in Leeds, the first half an hour, I was thinking, wow, we've got to get this attack working. And then we did. And I think the floodgates just opened. Very impressed in that game with Jurrien Timber. Thought he was absolutely exceptional. And
so good. Yeah.
I truly believe, bro. I think he's the best fullback in the league. I really do. I don't think there's anybody at the moment that does what he does. One-on-one defending, attributes physically, athleticism, going forward, defending, one-on-one defending. I'm like, you are just immense, an absolute machine.
Yeah,
and like, you forget he had an ACL last year. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
This guy was
first game, right? Unbelievable.
Incredible. So obviously now we've got the next 4, which are going to be difficult. We've obviously got Liverpool at Anfield. We've got Nottingham Forest at home, Manchester City at home, and then Newcastle away. Now, we saw with Newcastle away last night how hostile that can get. Manchester City, you don't know what you're going to get at the moment. You're either going to get them turn up like they did against Spurs, or turn up like they did against Wolves. So I've no idea what's happening there. Forest are a team that are always very hard to beat because they're so good defensively, and under Nuno, they've got a system. And then you've got, obviously, Liverpool at Anfield. So people are saying that Arsenal are looking good at the moment, and we've got the maximum points in the top of the league, etc. But I look at it right now and I think, how many points is realistic for the next 4 games? Because we all want to go and get 12 points. Is 12 points realistic for Arsenal? Because I will be absolutely over the moon if we pick up all 12. I know it's one game at a time, Si. I get it. It's one game at a time, and I understand that, right? But we are looking at 4 games there that are all going to be very, very different. What's your thoughts going into these next 4, the way we're playing?
So I don't say this in a pessimistic way. A point at Anfield is amazing. Amazing. Just is. They never lose there. I think only Forest beat them there last year. I think that's right? I think that's been the first team in ages to actually take proper points from Anfield. But especially because they're our rivals, a point at their place is massive. It's more than a point, right? Given what's going to happen throughout the season. If you win there, I think it's incredible. But I'm not going to sit here and mad if it's 1-1. Be over the moon. But that's amazing. They're a good, they're a good side, and they have their frailties at the back. But again, we saw the first 20 minutes against Leeds. We're not 100% there yet. We sort of fell into the game. Man City's difficult. I kind of feel like we do have to beat Man City, because after what I've seen, I don't think they're going to be as competitive as if they're that inconsistent, they go hot and cold. I don't think you can put them as a sure thing yet. But of course, City sometimes find their feet as they go. So, I don't want to get ahead of myself. But I think you have to, okay, if you can't beat City, I think you got to draw with Liverpool, you got to draw with City, and you have to beat Newcastle, you have to beat Nottingham Forest. I think that's a solid 8 points. I think that's really, really quite incredible. I know Nottingham Forest are good, and they brought in some really good players. But given where they are and given where we want to be, those are the teams you have to beat. They're the big, or sometimes they're actually the bigger games, because top 4 games can be an absolute lottery. Whereas the Nottingham Forest, who will cause you problems and aren't going to back down, I expect, put it like this, I always look at it like this. Do I expect Liverpool to beat someone like that? Yes, I do. So therefore, we have to do it as well. And again, Liverpool just did it. They just went to Newcastle away and got 3 points. You want to keep up with them. You got to prove you can do it as well. That's a sign of champion. So I would take 8 points for sure, and that's only because I just can't account for Man City at all. And Liverpool's a hard game, and it's not just a hard game on paper; it's a hard game figuratively, because we both know now, after the first couple of games, we are the favourites, right? Even the bookies are saying that. Money on City's gone down, obviously, because you lose to Spurs at home, and people are going to be like, "Well, something's going on there." So yeah, we come out with 8 points. Even if Liverpool smashed it with 12 for the next 4 games, if we come through with 8 and we're only 6 games into the season, I'm fine with that. I am, because on paper we've done well, and sometimes you do have to follow your own journey. And Liverpool will slip up. We're going to slip up. Let's not pretend otherwise. 38 games. So yeah, I would take 8. 12 would just, if we get 12 points and we don't win the league, what the flip is going on? Like, what? There is no. If you can go on that run and beat every single one of them, who's going to stop you? Your confidence should be through the roof, and you should be able to just take that into any game that comes next.
Look, I agree. I want 10 because I don't want to lose at Anfield. I don't want to lose at St James's. And I also feel like Manchester City at home, we've beaten them for the last 2 years running. Why can't we do it again?
Agreed.
Nottingham Forest is a must win. I mean, let's be real. Nottingham Forest is a must win at home. We've beaten them the last 3 years at home. So I expect to beat them. The two games I'm actually looking at are the big ones, which of course are Liverpool and Manchester City. And that's because I don't know what I'm going to get from Manchester City, as you've said. But I also go to Anfield knowing that we haven't won there since 2012. And, you know, Lucas Podolski and Cazorla were playing the last time we beat them, right? So it was that long ago, bruv. So we're talking a long time. Look, I personally do believe that you get out of Anfield with something, I'm happy. I'm not going to start crying about it because we drew. I'll cry about it if we lost because that's my sort of fan I am. But if we win, I'll be ecstatic. I'll be like, wow, we've finally done it. We can prove we can beat the champions. Let's go and show everyone that we can win the league now. So that game at Anfield is absolutely key. I actually feel like, and maybe I'll get egg on my face when I say this, but I actually feel like we're playing Liverpool, Man United, Man City, and Liverpool, Newcastle even, at a fairly good time. Because Manchester United didn't look fit already 100%. I know Arsenal weren't as well, but that's probably the time you want to play one of your rivals of years. Liverpool, likewise, we saw last night, they don't look quite like the Liverpool that were quite blitzing past teams last season. Manchester City, we've seen, can be caught defensively in the Club World Cup and, of course, against Spurs. And Newcastle haven't got Isak at the moment. So I actually don't think it's a bad time to play these teams. Now, I understand that the first 6 are difficult, but at the same time, bro, we've got to play everyone twice. So it kind of like, you know, when are we going to play them? Everyone had their own way. You'd make it a little bit easier, I suppose, along the way. However, I remember when we won the league back in 2004, we had an unbelievably difficult run. Like ridiculous, you know, we had Liverpool, United, Newcastle, Chelsea, and I think at the time it was Liverpool as well. So I look at it that way and think, you know, there's definite kind of question marks there. But look, I don't know what your thoughts are on the Liverpool. I may as well get your predictions. While you do that, I'm going to go and open the door because someone's bashing it down. I guess it's Amazon. I'm going to leave you there to take to the chat for a couple of minutes about the Liverpool game and your thoughts on that, bro.
You got it, man. So I mean, you've kind of hit the nail on the head there. You go to Anfield and you can't expect to walk away with 3 points. To get 3 points, I think you've totally smashed it. And I think that's, again, that should really set you up. If you could be the first team as well to take proper points off Liverpool in the season, where they're meant to be the favourites, then yeah, all of a sudden the momentum should shift to your side. But I always felt like Liverpool a bit of a bogey team for us as well. I should probably look at the camera. I didn't even look at it anymore. But I've always felt like Liverpool have been a bit of a bogey team for us. It used to be Chelsea, probably maybe 3 seasons ago now, and Chelsea obviously went through their own sort of reset or reforming of the team with all the ownership issues. But anytime we went to Stamford Bridge, I was always like, man, I'm not confident. And sometimes they would, beat us 4-0, 4-1. We never really seemed confident at Stamford Bridge. And given what we just said there, it's been sort of like 13 years, or whatever, or 12 years since we've done anything at Anfield. And I always find sometimes we can be having the best season ever. You go up against Liverpool and you get smashed 4-0. We always remember that. It's awful. I got a big Liverpool fan who's a friend of mine. He just, has the time of his life. But that's the kind of thing that we can't be doing now. So if you go to Anfield and you come away with a draw and you have those extra 2 points, however you want to claim it, I think not only does it look great on the league, because again, it stops Liverpool getting 3 more points as well, which is massive. But yes, I think it also tells the players who are probably an Odegaard and a Saka, he won't be playing, and a Raya to a lesser extent. I mean, I get a lot of those players have moved on now. They're not a bogey team anymore. You went to their place and you took some points. We still look good on the board. Because, yeah, I do not want to go back to that awful time where we seem in good spirits as a team. We go to Anfield 5-0. Like, what the hell happened? Even last season, right after they won the league, we were terrible in that first half. Second half, thank goodness we found it. But when they at one point, I was like, this is going to be 7-0, and I'm never going to be able to get over it. But we just steadied the ship. Let's not do that anymore. So, yeah, a point at Anfield to me, it doesn't make any sense. But it's 3 points. It just is. We're not good there. We're just not. We're not good there.
Nah, we're not good there. We're not good there, and we haven't been for a while. And I got to a stage where I said to my dad, do we go up there again? Like, it's been 4s and 5s the last couple of seasons, like you just said, and I thought, do we not bother? And I'm not going at the weekend. We're my family actually busy, and I can't go either. But I'm actually more confident than I've ever been going to Anfield, just
Yeah, me
because it's
too.
not so much that Arsenal are looking great and all this kind of stuff. It's more about what Liverpool are. I think they're looking vulnerable. I think they're looking not quite ready. I still think Mark Guehi and Isak's needed. And I think although I think they will get them, I think at the moment they're not going to get them and put them straight in against Arsenal. So for me, I think that we've definitely got we can give them a game. You know, if we leave Anfield with 3s or 4s, I'm going to be very disappointed. But at the same time, I don't remember the last time we lost by more than 2 goals, Si. I actually don't know. Like, I don't remember the last time we've got smashed by 3s and 4s. I think, if I'm honest, and correct me if the chat will know if I'm right or wrong here, the last time I think was when we lost 4-1 at the Etihad when we lost the league with Rob Holden at the back. I think that was the last time in 2023 that we lost by that many goals. And I don't know if the chat can confirm that, but I cannot think of a time where we've lost by more than that because we're so defensively resolute. It's so difficult to score against Arsenal and to blitz them, to smash us.
Well, I think it was after games like that when you saw Arteta shift, right? Is I got to build from the back here. Let's get that sorted, and then obviously this season we'll start moving forward. I'm with you, dude. I honestly am with you. Like they've been such an awful team for us throughout the years, even when they were kind of in that weird sort of Jurgen Klopp finding his feet, building his rock and roll football, whatever stupid name they gave it. Even then, we go there and just be like, oh, this is hell. This is just hell on earth. So anything to move away from that and start rewriting the script, especially when they're favorites. And yeah, even if, I mean, Isak won't be in their squad by then, but even if he was, I don't, you know what I mean? We know they have firepower already. So that shouldn't even, if for some reason Isak joined today and he played the weekend, which I don't think he would do because, I mean, mentally, if nothing else, it must be hell on earth for everybody involved. I think you should be going into that game as if they do have an Isak playing because they're so good going forward anyway. But he's better than what they've got. And you need to be looking at that back line where they're quite clearly vulnerable and being like, okay, well, screw what they're going to do coming at us. What do we do to get at them? And they know what that is. Again, we've seen 2 games now and the Community Shield. We're like, okay, there are things that you can do. Push them hard. Don't back off. Don't be scared of them. And obviously make sure as soon as they get the ball, everybody has to run back. Apart from Gyökeres, you got to stay up there. It's my big thing. Never come to the halfway line ever. But so we know what this game is going to be already. Even if, I mean, unless a Mark Guehi came in, but yeah, I don't think he would play. Maybe I'm just being optimistic there. I don't know. So aim for that. It's like an end of level video game boss. You see the flashing wound, go after that and sort it out. And I think we can at least do a job at least.
Yeah, we're showing our age there, Si, for sure.
I
but
know.
yeah, you're absolutely spot on, bro. You're absolutely spot on. And there's a couple of super chats I wanted to do. This one from NetTweet says, "Great Slot is still no excuse for Arteta, swim or sink." Yeah, look, he's got to come up and prove against Arne Slot that he can compete with him and get one over him. Brian also says that Martinelli has a good record against Liverpool. People are foolish to think that Ethan will start in the 10 over Eza. He thinks the midfield 3 will be Martinelli, Eza, and Noni Madueke starting. And I actually agree with him. I think that's probably the 3 that he will go with. I know Martinelli didn't play against Leeds, but I kind of feel like because he did start against Old Trafford, he's kind of saving him for that. And I think with the pace and the power that Martinelli will have, I think he will have a good job on the left and no excuses to have a good game. So it'll be very interesting to see what the team selection is. And this is what's so great at the moment. You know, we went through that squad and we're like, we've actually got some really good players there in that squad now. And you know, I've always had question marks about whether Arteta can get us across the line, as I've said to you before, right? I've never really had doubts that this squad has not been good enough to win a trophy. And that's what's frustrating me, is because I've always actually believed the squad's better than the last 5 years. And I understand to start with, it was a bit of a mess and there wasn't really much that we had hope-wise. But when I look at the kind of like ability of some of the players, I think a lot of our first 11 would walk into a majority of squads in Europe. Like, I'm not saying all of them would. There's definitely some doubts for me, right? But when you look at Saliba, you look at Gabriel, Timber, we've spoken about Saka over the years, Declan Rice, Zubimendi was wanted by a lot of top European clubs, you know? You've got Gyökeres now, one of the best in Europe. I think we're running out of excuses as to, this squad's not ready. This team's not ready now. So I think when we're going into, you know, the game at Anfield and people are saying, yep, Arsenal have got to win. I think it wouldn't be long ago we were going, you're joking, aren't you? But now we're like, yeah, you're right. We've got to win. We're going for the title. This is what you've got to do. You know, we did it when we won the league at Old Trafford. We've done it when we won titles before. We had to go to Old Trafford and win, who were our rivals back then. Now it's Liverpool. To me, that means you go to Liverpool. And if you beat them at Anfield, like, not only does it let everybody look at you and go, whoa, Arsenal was serious, it makes Liverpool think, crikey, they're much better now. They ain't done that since 2012. This is serious now. And that's why I think we've got to do that now, Si, if I'm honest.
And it worries City as well. What? They went to Anfield. Why is Nottingham Forest? And it worries Newcastle. It does, right? Because if I was a football player, I'd be there saying, they did what? Imagine you whooped them 3-1 at Anfield. Everybody would be on it. And they would change their game plan too. Nottingham Forest, especially if Nuno is still there. Has he gone yet? I haven't noticed. Maybe he's already gone. I don't know. But if he is still there, you know he can go into defensive mindedness, right? Screw it. Everybody come back. Hudson-Odoi, you're just going to calm down. So that I actually think would benefit us. So yeah, there's a real knock-on effect from doing a job on someone like Liverpool who have looked so impressive and obviously won the league at a canter last year. So yeah, I think it's the mental side of the game, which sometimes, especially over a year-long season, can sort of be what wins and loses stuff. But you proved the point, man. What did we do when we last won the league? We beat these teams. Sometimes we beat them quite handily as well, like handed their asses to them. Like, yeah, we can do this. So listen, I don't think we can do that against Liverpool because I think this team needs to believe they can do it. And the way you believe you can do it is by doing it. And then when you meet a City or you meet a Chelsea or a Liverpool or whoever again, your brain goes, oh, we have done it. And then you can play a bit more on the front foot and a bit more aggressive. So that's why it's so much more important. If I was going to do a crazy hot take, and I'm half, being hyperbolic here, if we beat Liverpool, I think we win the league. And that is game 3. But I'm talking about it from a mental point of view. I think everybody in that team will go, well, we can do it because we just did it. And that's why I think it's such a big deal. And again, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but that's where my mind would start to go. There's no excuse. There's no excuses now. There's no excuses.
And I think a lot of the media would start to sway towards Arsenal being favourites if we went on, come out on this run, beating Liverpool, Man City, and Newcastle, and Forest, of course, as well. I think people will look at Arsenal and go, right, they had the hardest 6 games and they've won them all. They have to be favourites now. And I think that would be fair, but let's get there first, right?
It's never that easy.
We can dream. We can dream for sure. Look, the last thing I want to ask you before we wrap, mate, is I've said that there's a lot of pressure on Mikel Arteta because of the window. We've really got one person to thank for that, and that's Andrea Berta. I never saw us getting 7 players. It looks like now we can soon make that 8 if Hincapie comes in. What have you made of the window? Do you think we're done? Do you think there might be a little bit more to go? There certainly will be player sales, I imagine. But what have you made of the window, and what do you expect left to happen, mate?
Yeah, I think people going out. I think there's a lot of players that are going to have to go out now. I don't want to see anyone just sort of, be bang to right to the not being able to do anything. You never want that, especially because there's some proper stalwarts in there that I think deserve to go out and play football. They've done a good job for us. But dude, I don't think we could have a better window. Like, in Dream World, you bring in a Rodrigo, not that fast anymore. Now we've got Eze. Do you know what I mean? That is almost sort of like putting extra stuff on top of the Christmas tree. So, but I never thought it was going to be this good. Like at one point, I thought it was going to be a Zubamender and a Gyökeres, and then we'll go from there and hopefully rely on some of the players that we've already had. But the fact that we brought in, even like the guy today, like we talked about, someone who we believe isn't going to be a starter, but is going to be a pivotal point and is based on almost what could happen. So what happened last year? We had injuries there, and it took away our momentum. Okay, well, who do we need to bring in? So we haven't got to worry about that. Oh, it sucks we haven't got a Gabriel Saliba, but we got this dude. And this dude isn't as good, but he's good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like he has what it takes to fit into what we're trying to do. I honestly don't know who else we could have got or what area is not covered now. I mean, maybe you can argue there are some positions that we could find better players, but then you're just being unrealistic. Like you can't just have the perfect transfer window. So to move the players on that we have, again, still think we need to be a better selling club, but we discussed that. But to bring in the players that we have and kind of change the things. I think I'd probably be saying something different if we didn't get Eze, but I also think that ties into the conversation of Havertz gets injured, let's get stuff done, which is not something we would have done before. And Havertz will be back. I don't actually know how long he's meant to be out for. It's like 6 weeks or something, I think, maybe 8, something I don't know. But when he's back, we know what he can bring as well. Again, just so solid and so reliable. I think, I'm not sure where are we wanting? Do you know what I mean? Who didn't come in that you could, listen, like, if you want to have a conversation about should we have gone for Gyökeres or should we have gone for Sesko, totally get that. That's a conversation for a different day. But the point was, get one of them. And we did. So we picked Gyökeres, we backed Gyökeres, 2 goals already in 2 games, no issues there. So yeah, I think it's probably, maybe not in terms of superstar power, but in terms of doing what we need to do, I think it's one of the best windows we've had in recent memory, for sure. Absolutely.
Certainly it is. And I think Eze, for me, just kind of topped that from going from 6 and 7s, like to make sure that now we've had like a 7 and towards an 8 of a window with the players we brought in, certainly with player sales, and maybe with one more as we've been talking about today, that would make it towards the 8 and 9 out of 10, which is one of the best we've had in a long time. So that to me means there's no blame towards what they've done. It's now over to Mikel and the team to go and do it. So that's where I'm at personally. Look, I do think that if I was being pernickety, that a proper out and out left winger would be amazing, like a Rodrigo. But I don't know if that's a pipe dream. I certainly think that's who they were looking at, but I think they've gone for Ezra ahead of him now. So I just think he's more realistic and obviously was available. So I don't expect anybody else to come in other than potentially that Hincapie defender with Kiwior going out. I think Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira, Lokonga, Nelson, I think they'll all go and get new clubs. I really do. And I don't expect to do much with that money. I think that we're probably going to look towards January in the summer. And I think the next positions that we look at, I think we'll keep things as they are. I truly believe the only real positions I can look at the moment is the left-hand side and say, right, is there an out-and-out left back that is an actual left back instead of us just make sure and someone's over there, makeshift defending. The other position I look at in the squad is, look, I don't hate on Marino. I look at Marino as a forward and I thought he was good. Is there a better, more athletic box-to-box midfielder we can get probably that can cover for Rice? I think that's probably a question. And I also think the out-and-out winger, which I've mentioned before. So I think they're the three positions that we might look at next summer. And then, of course, it depends who wants to leave. Was Havertz want to leave? Is Jesus going to go? You might need another backup striker if that happens, So I think we're always going to be ever evolving. And I think this is why I said to people when they were like, we'll build in this side. The side will ever be building. It's not like we're going to buy some players. You should be always buying players. You've always got to compete and try and get better, right? So that's kind of where I'm at, man. But listen, we've discussed a lot and it's been a pleasure to have you back on, mate. It really has.
Oh, always, dude. I appreciate it, mate.
Nah, come on, bro. You're always welcome here. And what you got coming up, man? How can people follow you and stuff?
Yeah, again, the awfully named Simon of 316. You can get all of me there. I mean, I'm having a few days off now because I had a crazy weekend. And then back to it, back wrestling this weekend and just all crazy YouTube. Again, you search my name, you'll find all my YouTube content. There was a slight lull this week. I look into the camera. Do forgive me. I literally haven't been home for 4 days, but we'll get back on it today. And you'll get this. I had some videos made. My editor had some stuff to do. Totally understood. It falls apart. It happens all the time. It's YouTube live, but they're all there, good to go. We'll get back on it. But yeah, into wrestling, into fitness, search my name and you will find me. I'm going to try to do more football stuff too. So yeah, find me there.
Big up, man. Make sure you're searching Simon Miller. You'll be able to see all of his stuff if you just put that name into YouTube. And big up to you for coming on, man. Look, we're going to send you over to Just Joe, who's chatting at the moment. Joe and Saeed are talking. So make sure you go and show him some love. Obviously, if you just spam the chat with 5-0, because Joe is a Leeds fan, that'd be good. And we will see you next time, people. We're out of here. Laters.